Take me to the sea, wash away my worries, let my soul be free. Take me to the ocean, take me to the sea, wash away my worries, let my soul be free.
Hello world, I'm Mhax. Back in IRL, I go by Curtis. Welcome to another episode of the State Copy Podcast. As always, I'll remind you to review episode 0 and its appended segments for terms, conditions, and disclosures applicable to the entirety of this content. Thank you. Well, hello everybody. Good morning. I wasn't planning on doing a podcast today, but how could I not with an epic day like yesterday? I did not sleep. This is too wild to sleep cannot happen after a day like yesterday. So I'm so interested in just watching how Twitter is responding to SVB's crisis yesterday. And and then as I reach out to people in my life who are not as dialed into all of this, who are not the, like us macro geeks that are just watching this all so carefully, nobody has a clue. I was describing it to my girlfriend, and I told her, think of this like the first day of the 2008 collapse. Certainly I hope that we find a cool collected path through this that looks a lot smoother than that, but it has the potential. And and I was messaging my friends in OK We Cool Discord, and let me get my phone out here. So immediately, friend B went to a place of implying that if something bad's happening, it's because of a regulatory failure. It's always because we don't have enough rules. And I had to point out to him that in this case, I think we have enough rules. This is just fractional reserve banking. I mean, which is awesome. And you really have to, here's what I said. Let me put what I said. So in this Discord I have with my two buddies that don't like to nerd out over this stuff like I do, I said, let me see. Let me back up. Dr. Awesome. Sorry, I've got new handles. I'll explain that later. But friend A now gets to be Dr. Awesome. He linked something that was sort of like like one of those catalysts for angst in like social discourse. And I kind of ignored it. And then later that day, or a bit later, I said, man, the banks are failing today. If you're going to let something bug you, I'd pick that. Joy emoticon. 14th, and now I'm hearing it's the 16th largest bank in the U.S. just failed. It's about to create a whole bunch of problems. When the blame game starts, the Fed is really to blame. Don't buy any of the bullshit you're about to hear. The first thing humans do when shit goes south is they start the most important thing to us seems to be, who do we blame for this? Which is an entirely unproductive way of living in general, or just thinking about crisis. Don't panic is the first thing that should go through your mind. Second is, how do we constructively understand what's happening and address it as a community, leveraging our combined brain potential? How do we harmonize it all of what we're seeing into a proper understanding of what's happening and what's about to occur, and then make thoughtful, sort of bold but well thought out, subtle changes that encourage best outcome for our collective, all of humanity. That is the right approach. That is not what we're going to do. A whole bunch of people are going to sensationalize this. You're going to see it all over the news next week, because this is big shit, guys. This is a very big deal. And the knock-on effects that this is going to cause all over the economy, especially if it's mishandled. So the Fed caused this. They, I would say, sort of arrogantly assumed that there's just a lot of hubris in the U.S. Federal Reserve. And they're very worried about sort of like what their legacy is. And, I don't think they have a good handle on what inflation is and why it's occurring. Again, I would recommend Eurodollar University, Jeff Snyder, if you actually want to understand any of this stuff. And so because they don't have a good handle on inflation, they just throw the one thing they have power to do is tune that in the base rate knob. And with all of their hubris of thinking that, all their calculations and it's all a fucking Ouija board in the background, what they're doing. It's a bunch of kids with a Ouija board that actually have their hand on the knob of the base rates that everything lends at. And they just tuned it. They tuned it way up, sort of in a naive way, and thinking that they had taken enough precautions, and they hadn't. The global financial system is way too complex to just crank rates suddenly up to 11. Okay, 5. But there are all of these, because of the complexity of how it functions, there's all these knock-on effects of juicing it like they did. And now they're getting the breakage that everybody said. They're going to tighten until something breaks. Well, something fucking broke. But this whole thing is like a Jenga tower or a house of cards. Like you can't allow breakages like what just occurred yesterday. So right now, there is Twitter Spaces launching. I just heard there was like 13,000 people on a call, and these are the informed minds that are in these, that are sitting in these discussions. Very quickly, as a hive, we need to come up with what is the least damaging response to proactively ensure that the knock-on effects and contagion from this event that happened yesterday is mitigated, and if at all stopped. And we have to do it in a really smart way, because we can't just print a bunch of money and give it, because whenever we print a bunch of money, we devalue all the rest of the money, and there's just it's all ripples in a pond spreading out. So I really am trying to get better at TLDRs, too long didn't read, summarized versions of really complicated things. What I really like today that I came across, I usually watch Mark Yusko and Mippo, Michael Ippolito from Blockworks, their Saturday morning show. There is, I will link it in the description right at about the 4-minute mark, a really good TLDR on what just happened to Silicon Valley Bank. And it really describes well just fractional reserve banking. And so you're about to hear a bunch of bullshit all over the news that doesn't make any sense. And you're going to do what humans do. The first thing you're going to do is sort of panic and go, oh shit, what's this mean for me? And then that's going to translate to anger, and you're going to be trying to look for a place to point your finger at who to be angry at about it. All of that is useless. And what you really, if you want to understand what is happening right now, this is a great place to start. It's got a really simple set of pictures that explain how fractional reserve banking works and why, and their conversation, what they're talking about the sudden ramp up in rates, how it created a problem for, and Silicon Valley Bank was performing a vital function of being a lender, a supplier of credit to the growth end of innovation. They're really important. They're not bad guys. And I think if you go do the research and you don't immediately look for a way to going on like 4.5 hours sleep here. Who can sleep in times like these? Anyways, watch that. It will explain this. And I wanted to say, very importantly, fractional reserve banking might on the surface sound bad to you. Everything good in your life that you take for granted, I live in a warm climate, AC, air conditioning, the car, the automobile, the airplane, the cotton gin, all of these things, never, electricity, YouTube, none of this shit would have happened without fractional reserve banking. It is a foundational piece of technology that allows humans to create capital for people that want to build cool shit. And there's like some basic dynamics of how it functions that once you grasp, you're like, oh, okay. Now, and it helps you draw lines from it to like everything important and awesome in your life. And the fact that we've just raised like a couple billion people out of abject poverty around the world. None of it happens without fractional reserve banking. But it's not a perfect technology, because when humans decide collectively to go risk off, it breaks. And every bad time in recent financial history is tied to a moment where suddenly we lost confidence and there's a run on the bank. Fractional reserve banking, that's its weakness. All this crypto shit is to try and lower the risks associated, and to make it all a lot more transparent where the risks are in a system so that everybody can see it. And it makes these whiplash moments like what we're about to go through far less intense. So this is about to get a lot of play. I mean, this is a big one, and I'm hoping we just come up with this weekend a very safe strategy for doing the lowest cost bailout and not a bailout. And I'm not talking equity and blah, blah, blah. I'm just talking about making depositors whole, because if they can't pay salaries for people, then those people will stop paying their mortgages or their car loans. And then it just spreads out like ripples in a pond. So if you don't want to go do all of the research into how this stuff works and how it interconnects and why it's, you kind of look like that guy in Idiocracy with the square peg and the round hole when you want to go, it was these guys, they're bad, because you're totally ignoring the fact that everything good in your life came from fractional reserve banking. And it's an imperfect tech that's prone to these times of basically it goes in waves where we're risk on and lending is highly encouraged. And that's what fuels innovation. All of the good things in your life came from us deciding together that shit's pretty good. You can make money letting somebody else use your money for a time to make cool shit for all of us. That's what it's for, and that's how it works. It's just when it gets too frothy, when it lends, because it's a sine curve. And that's what we're at. We're coming on the downside of one of those. And maybe we can, because of technology like this, we've never had the ability to have somebody who did all the homework, who could create a 15-minute explanation of what's happening. Now we do. So that's the medicine, I think, guys. I think people who are interested in this really boring shit and have done all the homework and can explain it properly we need to iterate on these TLDRs and get it out there fast so that everybody does not panic. Go see The Hitchhiker's Guide to Traversing a Singularity, episode 1 of State Copy. I explain it all there in careful, thoughtful, well organized. I spent 2 weeks on that. It does there's a great slide on not panicking. I encourage you all to watch it. To all of my 43 subscribers now, you guys are so fucking awesome. I just bumped my chin on I love you guys. Thank you. As I propagate, if any of this made sense, share it. Go out. Tell everyone you know what's happening, because there's going to be a whole bunch of bullshit that's about to hit the airwaves on what's happening that's just filled with inaccuracies. So I need your help to share this logical, rational, reasonable understanding of current events and help me promote sane, reasonable, well, careful, thought out response. Thank you so much.
Now it's coming around, you're feeling cut down and in the ground, and so we all come together. We making a sound, we sing. Look at all this love we found. Got a reason why I'm close to the sweet life. If it's strong, I don't wanna be right. See the sun giving me the green light. Kick back, relax, and soak up the sweet sights. Take me to the ocean, take me to the sea. Wash away my worries, let my soul be free. Take me to the ocean, take me to the sea. Wash away my worries, let my soul be free. There's something in the air. You come and take away my cares. I close my eyes, remember these dreams that we share. I wash it all away. You gotta give us all a break. Let the troubles of